It's Tim Seefeld, Municipal Affairs Communications. You're stuck with me today. Today we've got Shane Schreiber, who you are all familiar with, I think Managing Director of Emergency Management. We've got Chad and we've got Dr. Grimsrud. They're going to talk after. We're going to begin with some remarks from Shane, move on with remarks from the other two, and then we'll open up to questions. Okay, thanks.
Good morning. I'm Shane Schreiber, the Managing Director of the Alberta Emergency Management Agency. I've given Scott Long the day off, so I'll be presenting the situation report for 20 May 2016. The fire continues to grow. I'll let Chad talk about the details of the fire, but it's now at over 500,000 hectares or 500 square kilometers. The good news is that cooler, damper temperatures have significantly improved both firefighting conditions and air quality in the Fort Mac region. And there have been no further impacts on the city, industrial facilities, or camps. Air quality index in Fort Mac this morning is supposed to trend to moderate impact today, with an expected reading of 6 out of 10, which is still high, but certainly well below the readings we've had for the last few days. Mandatory evacuations continue to be in effect for Fort McMurray, Anzac, Fort Mackay First Nation, Fort McMurray First Nation, and the industrial camps and facilities that were evacuated on 17 May. Cleanup and repair crews will continue their work to prepare the city for the advanced voluntary reentry that begins on 1 June, and work is ongoing to restore electricity, gas, sewage, and water where it is safe to do so. Hospital restoration work is set to recommence tomorrow, dependent on air quality and safety conditions, and a boil water advisory remains in effect. Retrieval of abandoned vehicles will also resume today, and details for how you can pick up your abandoned vehicle are available at the Wood Buffalo website, www.rmwb.ca, or by calling 310-4455. Highway 63 is open but controlled and is subject to periodic closures due to ongoing wildfire activity. Access to the city remains restricted to essential staff only. The province continues to issue debit cards to those evacuees that require them, and as of last night, the province had provided more than 35,000 cards to evacuees for a total of over $75 million. I would just like to end off this statement with a plea to my fellow Albertans as we start the long weekend. Please be careful with everything you do, and especially with fire, because we certainly don't want to have another tragedy like the one we're dealing with in Fort McMurray. Okay, I'll now turn it over to Chad to give you further details on the wildfire efforts.
Thank you, Shane. Chad Morrison with Alberta Wildfire. So as Shane noted, the fire still remains at just over 1 million hectares in size, which is more than the total area that we've burned all of last season combined, and which was still a very busy year for us. So even though we've had cooler weather, we have not seen significant rain on the fire yet at this time. Hopefully this weekend we'll see some much needed precipitation, but until then, firefighters continue to dig in and hold the line around the community and protect critical infrastructure and values. As noted, we also continue to secure the perimeter to the north around the oil sands facilities, oil sands operations, industrial camps, and the sawmill site. Firefighters continue to see great success in mopping up any of the hot spots remaining left around the community. We continue to also mop up and secure the southern communities of Anzac, Fort McMurray First Nation, and Gregoire Lake Estates, and the industrial sites on the south perimeter. We still have over 1,100 firefighters on the scene, over 50 helicopters, 170 pieces of heavy equipment and dozers working. With the cooler rains and potential, we'll have good firefighting days ahead here. And I'll point to the map here now. Just notice that any of the spread that actually has occurred was actually from some portions yesterday, and that's captured from satellite imagery. And any of the hot spots were really only on that eastern side early in the day. And so we continue to work with our partners in Saskatchewan to establish a branch on that side. And as you can see, there was no significant fire growth or work that occurred, no significant fire hotspots or growth that occurred around any of the oil sand sites or anywhere around the community. So we continue to have great success there today and tomorrow. And with the recent cool temperatures and the success by firefighters, we're now able to surge forward with bringing in more firefighters over the next coming weeks. And we expect to next week to bring in an additional 500 firefighters on top of the 1,100 we already have. And the following week, the plan is to bring in as well another additional 500. And at this point, I will turn it over to the doctor for her update.
Yes, thank you. And I'm Karen Grimsrud. I'm the Chief Medical Officer of Health for the province. I wanted to focus this morning on the air quality concerns that we've been seeing in the recent days. And there have been extreme fluctuations in the air quality, not only in Fort McMurray, but also in the surrounding areas in many communities in northern and central Alberta. And those of us here in Edmonton witnessed yesterday, the air quality can change very suddenly. In Fort McMurray, the air quality has been fluctuating dramatically this week, at times reaching near record levels and at times reaching low levels. The last air quality index, I saw the current air quality in Fort McMurray is at 2, but is expected to worsen throughout the day and tomorrow. Now, Alberta Health Services continues to have an air quality advisory in place for the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo. And yesterday, they also issued air quality advisories for the communities of Bonnyville, St. Paul, Cold Lake, Lac La Biche, Smoky Lake, and Elk Point. In Edmonton, the air quality index nearly reached 10 late yesterday afternoon, but the rain has helped significantly improving the air quality through the night and is now at 1. The air quality index is based on a number of measurements, including smoke, ozone, and nitrogen dioxide. The general measurement is a scale of 1 to 10 plus, but in extreme situations can generate results well over 10. When an air quality advisory is in effect, all individuals living in or traveling within the affected area are advised to be aware of the potential health concerns and take precautions to reduce the risk of exposure. And that would include closing and locking all the outside windows and doors, taking steps to prevent outside air from circulating indoors through furnaces, air conditioners, fireplaces, or other ventilation systems, and keeping windows and vents closed in vehicles and running your air fans on recirculate mode to avoid drawing the outside air in. And finally, you can reduce the levels of physical activities recommended. Now, people with respiratory conditions, especially chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or COPD, and also asthma, and individuals with existing heart conditions may notice a worsening of their symptoms due to the poor air quality condition. These individuals should be monitoring for worsening of their symptoms and taking all the precautions recommended by their physicians if their symptoms do in fact get worse. Young children and the elderly are also at high risk of smoke-related illness. Individuals who are experiencing symptoms can call HealthLink at 811 for advice. Now, I know there's been a lot of questions about air quality in Fort McMurray and what it means for the people who are currently in the area working or on recovery, and what it will mean for evacuees as part of the re-entry planning. For those currently working in Fort McMurray area, worker health is protected by specific regulations and standards as outlined by Alberta Labour. And those requirements have been and continue to be communicated to the companies and workers in the area. For residents who are considering returning to Fort McMurray as part of the re-entry plan starting the 1st of June, if the conditions warrant, I want to be clear about a number of precautions. People with the following conditions should not be considering returning unless the air quality is safe. And that is individuals with respiratory conditions, that's COPD and asthma, those with existing cardiovascular or heart conditions such as angina, a previous heart attack. Pregnant women also should be included in that list, as well as children under the age of 7, and seniors, those over 65 years of age. Now, people without these conditions who decide to return to Fort McMurray starting tentatively on June 1st should monitor the air quality conditions carefully and take the necessary precautions if the conditions change. Now, I want to emphasize the situation in Fort McMurray is different from other communities currently being impacted by the smoke from the fire for several reasons. Now, firstly, there is not a full range of medical services currently available in Fort McMurray and won't be fully available until the reentry begins. Won't be fully available really till the middle of June. Short-term, also unexpected spikes in air pollution or pollutants can result as a result of wind gusts. We also have the issue of particulate matter from the ash and soot and other pollutants that may resuspend in the air. And finally, the poor air conditions in Fort McMurray may be prolonged. So this advice will be revised as more information becomes available and community infrastructure is restored and the current or predicted air quality situation evolves. People know their own health best, and this advice is really intended to support the people of Fort McMurray in their decision-making for themselves and their families when they're returning to Fort McMurray. And we will continue to measure and monitor air quality in the area on an hourly basis, and will ensure that Albertans in the affected area have the information and protection they need. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Gernsrud. So we'll open up to some questions here. Actually, one quick correction first. One moment, please.
Thanks, Chad with Alberta Wildfire. I just wanted to confirm, I misspoke there earlier. The fire has seen no growth at this time, and the fire size is just over 500,000 hectares, which is 500,000 hectares. So thank you for that.
I've got a question for you. You can stay up there if you want. Wanted to ask if you talked about these additional firefighters you're bringing. Why bring them in now as opposed to previously, and what will these extra firefighters be doing?
Yeah, really at this point it's been, we've been able to have more safe places for them to work. So as we saw some extreme fire growth over the last number of days, obviously we've been able to secure more line, and with the cooler weather and some expected hopefully rain in the forecast, we'll have the ability to put more boots on the ground in safe places and continue to really dig into this fire. So yeah, we have an opportunity to do that now.
And your total would be somewhere around 2,100 eventually.
Yes, and we want to be strategic and calculated on this surge of firefighters. Obviously, we want to make sure that we're putting them in the right spots as well, because there still will be extreme fire conditions in spots there if we get some hot, dry weather over the coming weeks. But as we continue to make progress and safe places for them to work with our tankers and our helicopters and our dozers, we can get more of those boots on the grounds to extinguish it and contain the perimeter spread. So, yeah, that's the long-term plan. Additional 500, like I said, for next week, and then 500 the following week after that.
Where are they coming from?
Yeah, so it'll be a mixture, a combination. So with we've gotten some good rain in some of the other parts of the province, so we'll get many of our Alberta firefighters that have had some rest and get them on the line there now too in Fort McMurray from other areas, while not leaving ourselves short. Again, our partners across Canada have already stepped up to the plate with many firefighters already, so we'll draw from them as sort of the next step. And then from there, if those resources are exhausted, we'll work through our international partnerships and agreements to bring in sort of the certified, qualified, highly trained and experienced firefighters from other jurisdictions that are used to working with these extreme type of fire conditions, and they'll be very effective tools for us long term.
But no plans to have those international groups in these next 1,000?
You have to get, for mobilizing international resources, it does take some time, so it does take up to at least a week to do that. So, obviously the closer ones we're going to move in first and tap into our local resources as our first resource, and then as, being strategic and planning out and being very thoughtful on how we do this, and methodical. And this is part of any normal fire process. We do this build over time until we reach our full capacity and can safely deploy those firefighters. So those international, we've been in discussions over the last while as well. We've had great offers and great support from our international partners. We've had the local resources to do what we needed to do currently. And then as we continue to expand, our Canadian partners will come in, and then as if required, our international partners will help backfill those needs.
Okay, we can go to a question from the phone line.
First question is Brianna Carsons from CTV Edmonton. Brianna, your line is open.
Thank you. I had a question for Shane. Shane, you mentioned the electricity power, and you mentioned gas was being brought in. Is that still being brought in because it was on hold from ATCO, or has that restarted?
So it's a little bit difficult to hear you on the phone. I believe your question was about ATCO Gas. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, so again, where it is safe to do so, they are going to start to repower or work on the gas lines there. So they have reevaluated and triple checked what they're doing and where they're working there to make sure that they're not creating any additional hazards. And so they will pick up where they left off and start to work in the areas where it is clearly and absolutely safe to do so.
So has that investigation into Dickensfield been completed?
It has not been completed, no.
Thank you.
Can you talk about, we've heard some reports that some people have been either posing as evacuees or, I guess, double dipping in terms of the money that's available. Can you talk about that, any instances of fraud?
Yeah, I can just talk in general about it. So there have been reports of people attempting to acquire, a second set of debit cards or additional funding from the Red Cross. The RCMP and City Police are actively investigating those cases. And of course, we've got additional security around each one of those debit card sites to deter that kind of behavior and make sure that that's not happening.
Can you put into context for people, I mean, how many people are doing this in the...
So in general, it's an extremely small number. We've had a handful of reports of this activity going on, and where we get the reports, I know the police are extremely proactive in following up.
So we'll go to another call from the line, please.
Your next question comes from the line of Carrie Tate from Globe and Mail. Carrie, your line is open.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. With respect to the air quality, how steady does it have to be before you let people in? When it's fluctuating so much, how many consecutive days of what number would work for you?
Thanks for your questions, Karen Grimsrud here. I think, at this point we're working on what that number should look like. So I can't give you a definite number at this point, but we would want to be able to say that the air quality should be of a certain level, and we have a good weather forecast. So that good weather meaning weather that's not going to result in additional smoke. So there's the two factors, the level itself and then the length of time that will be important.
Is there a guesstimate of how many days you'd want?
Well, we can only forecast the weather with certainty for so many days. So I think that's going to be the key, is the weather forecast.
Doctor, in your best medical opinion from your expertise, is June 1st too soon in a medical sense, or is that a solid date in your mind?
Well, the June 1st date is dependent on a number of things. I think the Premier listed 5 conditions. Air quality is one of those. I think it was one of the first ones. I mean, wildfires are under control. So the other factors are the other infrastructure being put into place. Depends when the hospital crews for restorations are going to be able to get up there. Also, we need sort of basic public health for services. Those initial reentry evacuees going back are going to need some kind of water supply. They're not going to have the city water. They're going to have to bring their own water supply. But we also have to make sure that other sort of basic necessities are there for them too, food, fuel, etc. But so the initial people, and that's why we're saying they should be healthy people. They don't have any underlying medical conditions, because there's only going to be very basic medical services available to them. That's probably the key piece. In addition to that, though, is the air quality. So to me, there's sort of the two things that need to go hand in hand.
So if you had a healthy patient come to you and say, look, I'm looking to go back to Fort McMurray on June 1st, would you medically recommend that it's okay for them to
When you say patient, so are you implying they have some kind of underlying medical condition?
This is somebody who's checking in with you.
Okay, so a healthy adult and the air quality is good, they don't have any other chronic lung disease, heart disease, etc., then they could consider, in part of their decision making, I would say that piece is sort of, you can check that off, yeah.
We'll go back to the phone lines, please.
Next question comes from Chester Dawson from the Wall Street Journal. Chester, your line is now open.
Yes, thank you. I wonder if we can get an update on the threat to oil sands production facilities, in particular the Syncrude and Suncor facilities. Are firefighters still deployed around those, or have they now been redeployed elsewhere because there's no longer an imminent threat?
Yeah, thanks for your question. It's Chad with Alberta Wildfire. We continue to have firefighters deployed closely around the oil sands operations and the industrial camps there. The fire will take some time to put out from that perspective, but we feel, given the current conditions and that are coming forward, as well as the number of firefighters we have there working, that the sites at this time, there's no immediate threat. As noted before, much of the, any time the fire did come close, it's actually removed a bunch of vegetation around those sites, so actually making those sites more secure. So as firefighters go in and mop up the hot spots, actually that'll be one of the safest places to be is in those areas. So long term, we're very optimistic that'll be, we continue to make good progress there, and everything continues to be well contained. And I guess the other note to add is that we as normal business practices, we work closely with our industry partners, and so we've established an industrial firefighting branch that works closely with our teams and the REOC, and that we are able to have industrial firefighters and municipal firefighters and wildland firefighters all working in conjunction to address whatever hazard or issue may come about. And so, we continue to build that and be well prepared there as well.
And back to the phone lines, please, operator.
Your next question comes from the line of Eric Johnson from Reuters News. Eric, your line is now open.
Yes, thank you. So can you say whether or not you've actually had precipitation in the Fort McMurray area today? And then also, what about in Saskatchewan? Will there be any evacuations in La Roche, in the community around La Roche?
Chad with Alberta Wildfire again. The latest reports is we've had a trace of rain, so no more than 1 millimeter or 2 on portions of the fire over the last day or so. And we'll see what the forecast. There is some rain potentially for the next 2 to 3 days, but again, we'll see when it gets there. In terms of the Saskatchewan issue, again, we're working closely with our Saskatchewan partners. We've had a member from the Saskatchewan Fire Service within our operations for the last week, so they've been well aware and well briefed, and we're working closely together with them. At this point, the nearest community is about 50 kilometers away. We don't see any immediate threat from that perspective. There's only about 700 hectares in the Saskatchewan side, and when the fire continues to burn into some of the natural fuel areas, and we're working closely with our Saskatchewan partners to address any concerns they may have.
Can you talk about the prospects for the weekend with the rain that is anticipated, what you think, winds, things like that?
Yeah, so from a firefighting perspective, we expect to hold this fire in place over the weekend, especially given the cooler temperatures and weather. Even if we don't get rain, the firefighters and our resources out there are making great progress. So these are great firefighting days for us. We're continuing to put in more dozer line, which is great cat guard and fire guard, and our helicopters continue to be very, very effective in that. And as well, it's now much safer for our firefighters to go in and clean up all those hot spots in some of those areas around the perimeter that were a concern before. So as every day goes by, we continue to run this thing down and make sure that we continue to secure it. And so, we're optimistic that the next few days the fire is not going to move with any significance, even with a bit of wind, due to higher humidities, cooler temperatures, and if we get a little bit of help from Mother Nature, we'll take it.
And back to the phone lines, please, operator.
Next question is from Rebecca Penty from Bloomberg News. Rebecca, your line is open.
Thanks for taking my question. Following up on some of the commentary around the oil sands site and the success there in keeping the fires back, I wanted to confirm that the Suncor and Syncrude sites are still under mandatory evacuation, and also, when do you see that lifting continue to make progress again?
Yeah, I'll take that. So I think the question is around the evacuation of the Suncor and Syncrude sites just to the up here to the north. And they remain under mandatory evacuation. We are reassessing that evacuation on an ongoing basis, but I can't see that being lifted until the air quality index gets stable and until we get the fire a couple more days of getting good firefighting done on that fire.
And another question from the phone lines, please.
The next question comes from Brianna Carson from the CTV Edmonton. Brianna, your line is open.
I just noticed that the city of Edmonton has lifted their fire ban. It's obviously still in place in other places around the province. Can someone speak to just how dangerous the situation still is because some areas haven't gotten rain?
Yeah, thanks for your question. It's a good point I should have raised earlier. It's Chad from Alberta Wildfire again. The fire ban through much of the parts of the province that are seeing heavy rain and snow in many parts in western parts of the province has been lifted. The only areas that have significant fire ban activities in the forested areas is that Fort McMurray area and the Lac La Biche areas. And so there remains in the forested areas around there a fire and ATV ban. In other parts of the province, especially in the areas in the prairies outside there, check with your local municipality. They may have some fire restrictions still in place. But at this time in the forested areas, the fire ban's been lifted due to the normal May-long weekend weather we get, which is rain and snow and cold temperatures in the mountains and in the western parts of the province. So just a fire ban in the northeast at this time.
And a final question from the phone line.
Next question comes from the line of Carrie Tate from the Globe and Mail. Carrie, your line is open.
Hi. On the water thing that you mentioned, that there will be no city water and people should bring their own water, is that just potable water or all water?
So I'll address that. It's Shane Schreiber from the Emergency Management Agency. So right now, they're busy flushing and repairing the water filtration system. So there will be non-potable water available for reentry on the 1st of June. All things, if all things spool out like we hope. But we're recommending people bring potable water with them when they return. There will be probably a boil water advisory still in effect on the 1st of June and probably until the middle of June when they can fully test and ensure that the system is at 100% effectiveness.
Thank you.
And given that the ENG guys have been reaching for their cameras for the last few questions, I think we can wrap it up there. Thanks for your help.